All right. Hey, everybody. We are going to start talking now about our storm chances for later tonight and then also for tomorrow as well. Remember, we are in a weather impact alert for tonight and extending all the way into tomorrow as well. So I'm going to be talking about both of those chances. It's really for Tuesday only, which I'll explain the details in just a second because our tonight event kind of starts around midnight. So the Storm Prediction Center outlook that you're going to see is really for midnight and on. And I'm also going to address some of your questions as well. So give me just a moment to pull up the live stream on here so that I can read your questions. I'm just making sure with our digital people also that everyone can hear me and that everything is good. All right, so I have the stream pulled up now so I can also address your questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through everything first and then I will turn to the Facebook comments and I'll address questions there. I'm going to take this full screen because our screen behind me is not on. So hopefully you can see the graphics on there now. And let's just get started with the current satellite and radar. We'll just kick it off right there. Because right now, if you're in counties like Taylor, maybe even Upson or Macon County, you probably are beginning to hear some thunder out in the distance, and it is the approaching of really some showers and storms ahead of the actual line that's pushing our direction with our severe weather chances. But something right off the bat that I just want to encourage you with is the fact that there are no active current warnings right now. So I'll turn on this watch box so you can see where the severe thunderstorm watch exists right now. It's really for southern Alabama, and I'll also say my second piece of good news to you is that the Storm Prediction Center, when asked by the National Weather Service about extending the watch kind of further into our area, you know, if they went ahead and extended a watch for this region, they went ahead and said no, meaning that they didn't really think that our atmosphere past the Alabama-Georgia state line was really conducive for widespread severe thunderstorm warnings, kind of like we're used to seeing along a line like this. So the first two pieces of good news is one, they did not extend the watch, and two, there are no active warnings at the moment. So generally the trend with this line right now is that it's weakening a lot, and you can even see that just by looking at the color of the line itself. We saw a lot more red, and I'll flip the lightning off so you can kind of see the rainfall here. An organized line, and you can see where the red was to show some heavier rainfall there as well. Even in just the last couple of hours or so, it's kind of disorganized from itself. So you can see here as it crossed over from Mississippi into Alabama. Straight line wind sections, a bowing segment, so a lot gustier and just also a lot more pulled together. As it's crossed through Alabama, it's kind of broken apart into having some showers and storms ahead of it, and then also just generally being less organized with itself. So playing this out, you can see as we go into Alabama, it kind of gets a little more broken up there and then really loses, let me turn that off, loses what was kind of the whole organization of the front of it here. There are still some stronger thunderstorms ahead of it, but nothing that's severe at the moment, and that's kind of what's pushing towards us right now. So what's creeping across state lines, and we'll just go ahead and bring this to our area so we can talk a little more specifically about what's creeping towards us, is still, don't get me wrong, a good bit of lightning. There's a lot of thunderstorms that are happening right here, pushing from Alabama into western Georgia, so mainly over the Columbus to LaGrange region right now, and it's just now starting to creep into Taylor and Upson counties. But the region that's kind of in these two areas has a lot of lightning just yet. This is mostly rain that we're talking about in Taylor County here, and then there are some thunderstorms creeping into Upson County at the moment. So what I'd love to do is kind of time this out for you to tell you when specific areas will be seeing this or how much longer it'll take to push into Taylor County and Upson County and even further than that into Crawford and Peach. But fortunately for us, there are no active warnings, so I do not know how fast these storms are moving, but the one thing I can say is that I don't think they're moving very fast. This line has really stalled out as it's entered Alabama. It was moving a lot quicker over in Mississippi, and just as it's gotten into Alabama has just completely slowed down and also just lost a lot of its fuel. So I start with all that just to show you what's going on right now and just to tell you that there is a general weakening trend as this pushes further towards the east, which is good news for us. Originally, when it was coming into the the western counties, I was thinking it was going to be still holding together a lot better than it is right now. But with that being said, I'll still go through the whole forecast and I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're expecting to see in the coming hours. So let's talk about the outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center. So this is the one that exists for today, although somewhat misleading because this is the one that was really existing for what was happening earlier today. So you probably, I think most areas, if not all, saw a little afternoon thunderstorm or a shower. This is what that level 1 risk was covering. The chance to have an afternoon shower or storm that got a little bit gustier, maybe got stronger, an offhand severe thunderstorm warning here or there. That's what this level 1 was for this afternoon. Now that we're transitioning into the nighttime and then start talking about this line coming into our area close to the midnight hour and afterwards, we're going to go ahead and knock it up to a level 2. And then this level 2 also is in place for the second round of severe weather, potential severe weather, I should say, that will be coming our direction for Tuesday evening. So this is really the outlook from about now until tomorrow night that we're going to be paying attention to. And the trend with this is that both lines will kind of show some weakening as they push further towards the east. So that's kind of why it extends mainly into our western half here. And I can also take this a little closer. So county by county, it extends down up from about Putnam all the way down to Dodge County, kind of splits Dodge County in half here. The counties that are excluded from the level 2 would be Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery, Troutland, some parts of Lawrence, Johnson, Washington, Hancock, parts of Baldwin, and parts of Putnam. Everybody else is under the level 2 because the same as we're seeing now, the showers and storms that we'll be pushing our way tomorrow are going to be coming in from the west, almost the exact same way that they are now. So the idea here is it'll be coming in with a little bit of a punch and then kind of weakening down as it heads across our area to the point where it's probably going to be a little bit more of a level 1 as it pushes into our eastern counties. Now, what is the threats with the level 2 versus the level 1? The main thing that we're going to be watching for with any of these storms is really going to be gusty winds. So I believe it was last Sunday, we had one of these kind of systems come through our area and it brought some really gusty straight line winds. If you're in Crawford County specifically, I remember seeing values that were greater than 70 miles an hour. So we had really strong straight line winds. We never really had signs of rotation, but straight line winds were still really impactful and ended up doing a good bit of damage across our area. So straight line winds would be the one thing that we're watching the most. Of course, with the past couple of months, we've seen a lot of systems that have had really big hail. So we would be watching for hail as well. And then we're still in, I know it's hard to believe, but we're still in our springtime severe weather season. So there is kind of always with these systems a low end chance to see a brief spin up tornado. This is really not one of the main things that we're going to be watching for, but it's just a slight possibility with this line. Although I will say I'm pretty encouraged with how the fact that there really hasn't been much rotation since about Mississippi with this specific line for tonight. So those would be the things that we'd be watching, and that's kind of what this whole outlook covers here. And the idea between the 2 versus the 1 is just that it's going to come through with a little more strength in our western counties and then gradually die down as it pushes further east. So that will be the outlook for tonight and for tomorrow. And then we are in another level 1 as we head into Wednesday. And this is for the same thing that the level 1 was for earlier this afternoon. We'll have some pop-up showers and storms in the afternoon and evening, similar to what you see in the summertime, and there's a chance for some of those pop-up storms to get kind of strong or maybe have an offhand severe thunderstorm warning or 2. I'm going to go ahead and let you know now. This is for Wednesday. I think we'll probably have a level 1, honestly, through about Friday. What's happening is that we're kind of stuck in an atmospheric pattern of a stationary boundary sitting near us, and that is what's keeping those afternoon rain chances up for us. So that stationary boundary will still be sitting with us all the way through Thursday. So I think there's a through Friday, excuse me. I think there's a pretty good chance that we keep seeing level 1s for the next couple of days as well. So those are your risks. I know that was kind of a lot that I just threw at you, but that's just breaking down what the Storm Prediction Center is saying about this whole thing. So let's talk about the future view for a second here. And you know what we always look for, which you probably hear us say this a good amount, is how well is the model reflecting what's happening in the atmosphere right now. So if you'll humor me for just a moment, I want to click over to the radar so that you can see with your own eyes how well it is initializing. And it's actually doing a fairly decent job. I would say it may be just a little bit behind. But you can see what's happening right now is kind of what the model was thinking would happen around this time. So that's a pretty good indication that the graph is doing a good job. So we might be able to kind of go with its thinking here. So this timestamp on your screen here is tonight at midnight that this line finally kind of truly pushes into our area, and the graph has this holding together a lot better. So I will say there is maybe an idea that this line could kind of gather itself back together here, and that would really just mean, again, some greater chance for straight line winds. And then it just takes its time pushing across our area. This is why we're really talking about Tuesday after midnight, because most of our area won't really be seeing this until midnight and on. By around 3 a.m., it should be in our eastern half, and then by around 5 to 6 a.m., it should be moved out of our area entirely. So by the time you start your morning commute tomorrow morning, we really shouldn't be talking about much except for maybe some lingering rain if we do happen to have any of that. And then heading into truly the work time, 9, 10, 11 a.m., we're going to stay dry. So this is kind of a sandwich of severe weather threats. That's overnight tonight, and then most of the day Tuesday we should stay dry until we start talking about Tuesday evening. So probably by the time you're home from work, I think by earliest 6 or 7 p.m., that's when our next chance for severe weather kind of moves in. So it's going to do the same thing actually that this line that we're seeing later tonight is going to do, in the sense that it's going to start coming in from the west. So 6 or 7 or 8 p.m. in our western counties, that's when this line will start to move through, and then it just does the same kind of thing. Takes its time sweeping across our eastern counties here. Maybe not looking totally like one organized line, but kind of a cluster of thunderstorms, and then pushing out of our eastern counties by roughly the early morning hours Wednesday. Again, there may still be some lingering rain behind that, or maybe a couple rumbles of thunder, but the main threat for severe weather would really be kind of before the early morning hours Wednesday. So clearing out, and then again, similar to Tuesday, we'd start Wednesday relatively dry until, and remember this, I know this is a lot to throw at you guys, but remember, by the afternoon, we do have that level 1 risk, so we would have the chance to have a couple of pop-up showers and storms by the afternoon and evening, and then that is going to be the same thing for Thursday, but we don't quite go out just that far just yet. So that is a lot, but that is kind of what the threat is for tonight, tomorrow, and the next couple of days. I'm going to try to access these comments here. Bear with me. I'm trying to read these comments, but my computer's giving me some trouble. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can just do this from my phone. And I'll go through that whole thing one more time, but let's flip back to the satellite and radar while I try to get to the comments here on my phone. Okay. Oh, that's my voice. Let me turn my volume off. Okay, so I'm seeing some of your comments. If you guys do have questions, feel free to ask. I'm not seeing a ton of questions at the moment, more just some chatter. But I will kind of go through that one more time, and we'll again talk about what we're seeing right now. Not a ton at the moment, except for if you are in kind of Taylor and Upson counties, where the early part of this is starting to enter our area. Let me actually flip over to the higher resolution radar here, so we can get a better idea of what exactly is happening. But really just some lightning strikes, and again, there are no severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment, so that is a good sign. But we will be watching just to see if any of this that's happening here kind of tries to organize together once again as it enters our atmosphere. I'll also say, though, in the spirit of good news, we had a lot of those showers and storms earlier today, and that may have kind of worked over our atmosphere just a little bit, so we may have taken up some of the fuel that this line was really going to use to stay a lot stronger. So that actually could be good news for us. But right now, I'm just going to be paying attention to see if any of this tries to catch up with itself and maybe organize together just a little bit. But again, there are no watches or warnings. So none of this weather that's moving in from Alabama is severe at the moment, and there is no watch for us currently. So the Storm Prediction Center is not saying We're going to be watching this really closely for widespread severe thunderstorm warnings. They're just saying there may be a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings from time to time, but the organization of having widespread severe thunderstorm warnings across this entire line is really just not there. And the the National Weather Service is chatting in here, so I'm going to see if they're saying anything else to the effect of what I'm saying. But they continue to maintain the idea that this whole line is kind of on a downward trend. So that is good news for us. And we can try to look at some of these wind values here as well, but if you've seen severe weather coverage with us before, you're used to seeing areas that jump out at you when we are looking at especially velocity. When you start to see bright green or bright red values, you know that usually flags our attention for areas that have really gusty winds. And right now I'm just really not seeing a ton of that. I mean, we'll probably have some winds up to around 40 miles per hour, but not in our severe thunderstorm criteria, obviously, because we have no warning. So yeah, really not seeing any areas of that right now, which is just, this is all very, very, very good news. If I check on the hail too, maybe a little bit up in Talbot County here, but you can see it's also very small. Let me try to get a reading for that, but it looks to be less than half an inch, if anything. Yeah, about 4/10 of an inch in diameter up in Talbotton there. So again, just kind of showing you all these factors to show you it's actually a little bit of good news here as this kind of pushes into our state. So it's moving towards Taylor County right now, and again, it'll just kind of take its time. I know I don't have active warnings to show you just how fast this thing is moving, but I'll tell you what, it's going pretty slow. The only warning that we did have earlier in Alabama, it said it was moving at 35 miles per hour, and I really haven't seen it pick up much more than that. Okay, I'm starting to see some of your questions now, so I'm going to turn to the Facebook comments. I see a couple of questions about specific location. I see one about Roberta here. So the general idea is it may just be a little bit gustier over in Crawford County than, say, all the way over in Johnson County with the round that's coming tonight, same as the one that's coming tomorrow. The idea is that it has better and stronger organization coming into our western counties than it will all the way out towards the east. But even with that said, this is not really a ton of organization. I'll give you, it does have a good bit of lightning, and there is some heavy rainfall within this. But like I just said, flipping over to the winds aren't super, super gusty, and we have no active warnings. So if this is kind of the strongest that it's going to be, then it really should be not so bad rolling into especially our eastern counties. So that's kind of the general trend with that. Goodness. I'm seeing questions about sleeping outside. I don't think I recommend sleeping outside in any sort of severe weather situation, and there's definitely a lot of lightning, and lightning is definitely not something you want to be outside for. So definitely I would say just wait this one out in your house. Oh, we're getting questions about the tornado risk, which actually is another encouraging piece of information I can share, so let's do that as well. We'll talk about this tornado parameter, which you guys have seen us use before, but the thing about this parameter is really a decent risk for tornadoes for us would be kind of that yellow color that you see on the scale in the middle there. It's really, this white color that you see here is really a low end chance for us to have any tornadoes, and that's kind of what we have for today too. But even as we cross over into the midnight 1, 2, 3 a.m. hours, which is really when this line's going to be here in our area, I mean, you guys can see it for yourself. There's just about nothing. So the tornado parameter, the tornado potential, I've been kind of saying all evening in the shows, it's not zero. There's kind of always a chance for tornadoes when we're in this time of year, but the chance is so low end that it's almost zero. But we'll be watching for it just for brief areas of rotation that may try to spin up just for a moment, but I'm certainly not expecting to see any sort of major tornado or any sort of long track tornado. If we did happen to see anything, it would be brief, short-lived, and probably not causing a ton of damage. So that's the tornado parameter there, and you can see low end chance if anything. And even for tomorrow, we're talking about in the evening hours tomorrow, so that's kind of the 6 to 7, 8 p.m. time frame all the way into the late night hours, and it's the same kind of story. Maybe a moments of a little bit of white on there, but really nothing that is a major concern, and it's definitely not one of the main risks that we're going to be paying attention to. It's honestly just some of those gusty winds and the chance for a few thunderstorms to maybe have some hail as well. So that's the tornado risk. I am seeing questions about sleeping. I would say just for overnight tonight, I would just have a way to have weather alerts that wake you up as per usual when we go to bed with severe weather events. This is unfortunate in the sense that it is late night tonight. It doesn't really get kicked off in kind of our western counties and towards Bibb and Houston counties until midnight tonight, so it'll really be an early morning Tuesday event. My rule of thumb, if you want to know from a meteorologist, when I'm going to bed and I'm not working and I know that there's severe weather coming, I just go to bed having alerts on my phone that I know will wake me up. I use multiple different apps, and then I also use the regular kind of emergency preparedness alerts, and I've never had trouble waking up. So definitely just having some ways to wake up if something does kind of roll your direction. And if you do happen to see an alert, or if you hear some thunder that sounds really loud, just checking your phone and seeing if we're live, because me and Alex Pry, we will be here all night. He's going to be here early in the morning to hand off with me. So we'll be staffed all night tonight. There will be somebody paying attention at all hours. Just to show you one more time, that's again tonight, but I don't want it to be lost on us that we do have another threat coming tomorrow. So just while I'm kind of waiting on a few more questions to come in, I'll show you one more time what tomorrow evening looks like. So tonight's going to be really late night, after midnight for most people. Tomorrow is going to be a lot earlier, to be closer to 7-8 p.m. in our western counties. And then I'm hoping if it rolls through here quick enough, we could be done with this thing by midnight to 1 a.m. in our eastern counties. So that tomorrow will be kind of an earlier evening event. If you've got evening plans around after 8 p.m., those I would not really suggest. Maybe doing dinner at home tomorrow evening, or just kind of waiting out later night plans for another night, because it is going to be more probably when some people are awake. And it's the same threats for tomorrow evening, really just mainly the winds. It's the chance for some hail, and then we'll be watching the low end chance for a brief spin up tornado. But that is the extent of our weather impact alert. So that is mainly the threat here. I can check one more time. I know I'm seeing some questions about what the winds are right now moving into our western counties. I'll try to grab a pixel for you guys here. But like I said earlier, I'm just not seeing anything that really jumps out to me. If we kind of take it to the northern half, where I'm seeing some colors that may give me a bit of a reading. So heading towards Upson County, right now the winds are up to 30 miles per hour, which is not so bad at all. When we're talking up to 50, up to 60, that's when we get into kind of severe thunderstorm threshold criteria. But we're really not even close to that as this heads towards Upson County. And this is just an area where I can grab the pixels the best. You can see outside of that, so kind of even ahead of that just a little bit here, and the winds over in Taylor County, and the winds that are heading towards Taylor County, the winds that are heading towards Macon County. It's kind of dark green, almost grayed out a little bit, just indicating there's just not gusty winds here, which is really good news. Even if I try to take it over to the radar that's over in Alabama, even less impressive in terms of the wind speed that are heading here. You can probably see with your own eyes where the winds are looking the most impressive out of everything we're seeing. And to give you perspective, the greatest winds that we're seeing right now are up to 30 miles per hour, so not so bad at all. But we'll just be keeping our eye on this to make sure it doesn't try to kind of reorganize with itself. But otherwise, if 30 mile an hour wind gust is the most we're seeing right now, it's encouraging signs as it crosses state lines into our area. In fact, really quickly, I'm seeing your questions as well about if I could time it out. Unfortunately, because we don't have warnings, I don't know how fast the storm itself is moving, but it seems to be moving fairly slow. I think it'll probably be another good hour or so before this actually is in our western counties truly. Right now there's kind of some showers and storms ahead of it that are already into Upson and Taylor counties, but I think this segment won't really be into our western counties for another hour, maybe two. This thing was moving super slow earlier. Just to kind of show you, I'll put the bigger radar on, and I'll take it back from the last 3 hours. It just completely slowed down over Alabama. It was moving a lot quicker from Mississippi into Alabama, and as it got over Alabama, I mean, it has just completely stalled out and broken apart a good bit as well. So I'm catching up on comments. So yeah, that's kind of where things are at with current conditions at the moment. Oh, I was gonna look at a sky cam. That's what I was gonna do. Let's look at the Columbus sky cam just so you can get a look outside before I hop off here. And I don't have control over kind of changing the direction of this one, so we won't really be able to kind of move it to see which direction we're facing, but you can see it's fairly calm. This again is Columbus, Georgia, and you're used to seeing what it looks like when we have severe weather come through. Really gusty, where the sky cam's shaking around a lot, or we can see stuff on the ground, or the rain is blowing sideways, things like that. But that's really not the case in Columbus right now. There's another sky cam in this region also that I can play out, but it's the same kind of story, and it's just a similar view. Not very breezy at all. And that's not really causing the trees to blow around or anything like that. So from where the system is now over in Columbus, not looking so bad. So I think that's kind of most of the questions that I'm able to address, again, without having active warnings or without having even a watch in our area. I think generally what you should be able to take away from this whole thing is that there's encouraging signs from this line. Obviously, we know that there's a potential for this thing to kind of pick back up and get a little gusty, so I'm going to be watching it over the next little bit or so, and my recommendation to you is to probably just check in with me at the 10 p.m. news, if you're up, maybe the 11 p.m. news as well, and I'll just kind of have the latest information for both of those newscasts, and then just go to bed with a way to have weather alerts on your phone that are going to wake you up. That would be my ultimate suggestion to you at home. But as things stand right now at 9:27 at night, it's just generally kind of encouraging signs. The whole thing is looking a little bit less organized. It's looking weaker. The wind gusts aren't very high. There are no active warnings. We're not in a watch. So I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing right now. And hopefully if it keeps trending this way, it won't be much of an event for us here at all. So that's kind of the latest. I think we're going to hop off for now so I have a little bit of time to get ready for the 10 o'clock news, but that's where things stand at the moment. Again, no active warnings, no active watches, and this thing is kind of creeping into our westernmost counties right now, which would be Upson and Taylor counties. So feel free to join me tonight at 10 p.m. and at 11 p.m. I'll have the latest, and then again, we'll be here all night long should anything else arise. So I'm going to leave you with the radar here, and we're going to hop off for now. So have a great night.